Now, if you can tell from my background, of course, I'm going to be talking about Nickelodeon. Now, you see, I'm going to be talking about a film that's nostalgic to me, and I think a good amount of people. Now, we'll talk about a Nickelodeon movie. They made their deal with Paramount Pictures in 1994. Their first movie was Harriet the Spy. I'm not going to be talking about that film. Not even going to be talking about the Rugrats movie, which came out in 1998. And May was the first animated movie to make over $100 million. That wasn't Disney. No, I won't even be talking about the even better movie, Rugrats Go to Paris, which is a better sequel, in my opinion. And I won't be talking about the Wild Thornberrys movie or Rugrats Go Wild, which, fun fact, they had those scratch and sniffs, if you remember those, for the Rugrats Go Wild. I saw that in a dollar theater when I was a kid, and they had those scratch and sniffs, and one of them was like a dirty diaper, and it was fucking gross. But just beware, obviously this is a YouTube MA review, so I will be talking about the pinnacle of cinema. Not really. It is Good Burger from 1997. It's starring Keenan and Kel from the show Keenan and Kel. They are Dex and Ed in the movie. This is a sketch from All That ran from 1994 to 2005. Now, this was the height of All That and Keenan and Kel stardom, which did go up and then, went down a little bit, but this was the height of Nickelodeon. This was a theatrical release, and already stated, came out in 1987. This movie has the star power of Abe Vigoda, who, if you might not know, was in a little movie called The Godfather Part 2 and Part 3. I'm joking, of course. He was in Part 1, just called The Godfather, and he plays an old man. Literally, I don't think he has a name in the movie. There's also a few other noticeable casting in this film, including Sinbad as Dex's teacher. Now, we start off the film, and we start off with Ed having a dream sequence. Now, it's like how you would expect. Ed says, "Welcome to Goodburg, home of the Goodburg. Can I take your order?" And then the hamburgers start talking to him, and this is where it gets weird. It's like the hamburgers are floating in midair, and then they make Ed fly. And if you've not seen the movie Good Burger, first off, why are you watching a Good Burger review? But secondly, if you haven't seen it, this is based off a sketch. The sketch basically lasts like 5 to 7 minutes. They had to really stretch some scenes to make it a feature-length movie. They do, though. I think they make it a quite enjoyable film. Just to give my 2 cents right off the bat. But Ed is floating, and then he falls down into an empty void, and he wakes up. Now, he wakes up in his room, and it literally looks like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, like room-wise. He has like these weird things in his room. They're very bright and colorful, very much of its time, like 80s, 90s room. Ed sleeps in his uniform. He also bathes in his uniform. He takes a shower in his uniform. He cleans his hair in his uniform. He skates to work and attracts a little girl that's jump roping through the street with comical music, or else it'd be weird. But then because this is a movie, he accidentally runs into a woman with a child, a baby, and freaks out, and then he switches the baby with basketball, and those basketball guys give it back to the lady, and, happily ever after for that, because Ed just causes mayhem, apparently. He's really sweet, though. Anyway, you go on to Dex, who is in high school. I can't tell how old Ed is supposed to be. Maybe he's a high school graduate, maybe he's a high school dropout, or he's a college dropout. I have no idea Ed's actual age. I'm sorry for the AIDS. Anyway, Dexter does not want to do anything for summer vacation. He just wants to chillax, crack open some sodas, crack open some tea, and get some chips open, sleep on the couch, be on the couch, watch some good old television, maybe some more of that, and a bag of chips. Okay. Now, he goes off, his teacher, who they make a secondary villain in this for some reason. The teacher is very much stuck in the 70s now. I'm saying this is a movie that came out in 1997. I saw, when I was a kid on Nickelodeon, it aired, when they used to do those movies on before Nick at Night started. Pretty sure they still do it. But, yeah. Basically, the teacher's stuck in the 70s. He has a huge afro, and he has, this really colorful shirt and, disco pants. I'll say disco pants, whatever. And he has, Black Power and, other terms, 70s civil rights movement, slogans. That sounded weird, but I promise you it's in the movie. Now, the next thing that happens is Dex takes his friend home with his mom's car. Now, Dex does not have a driver's license or insurance, and that'll be important in just a few seconds. Now, Dex obviously has explained that he doesn't really want to do anything. He then sees Ed in the middle of the road. He swerves to, stop from hitting him, and accidentally runs into his teacher. Literally. Now, this is where the plot of the movie happens, because Dex does not have a driver's license or insurance, and he doesn't want to tell his mother that he was driving her car. So they go to a mechanic, and the teacher says he doesn't want to put a young black man in jail. His words in the movie. So he says the estimate is $1,900, and then I'm thinking it was $600 for his mom's car. So he needs to get a summer job. Holy shit, I know. It's fucking nuts. I'm sorry. Anyway, he then goes to work for Mondo Burger. Now, Mondo Burger is a new burger place that's across the street from our Good Burger in the film. I'm doing a lot of hand gestures. I'm very sorry. Anyway, Mondo Burger is very much a totalitarian place. It's no fun allowed, and most jobs are like that, but it's another level for Mondo Burger. The boss is Kurt. Now, Kurt, you were introduced as the villain of the film right away. He eats all the scenery, and he's probably perfect casting for this role. I haven't seen him really in anything else. A little bit of a shame. He seems to be really enjoying himself here. And Keenan Dex is not doing a great job. Now, he probably would have got fired on the first day. I don't know how he got hired in the first place. He can't do anything. I mean, literally, he messes up the burger on the first day, and then Kurt's giving a speech, and he makes fun of him because Kurt's being ridiculous. And then he gets fired. Kurt fires him, and he basically pleads for him to keep his job, but Kurt does make fun of him, and he insults him quite a bit. Tells him he's like a piece of dirt, like garbage, and Dex is very much distraught because of that. And then he goes over to Good Burger to have lunch. Then he meets Ed. He doesn't really remember Ed. He can't place him. He was like, I know you from somewhere. Who are you? Like when you're trying to spot an actor or an actress in the film, you're like, who is that? I've seen them somewhere. Can't find it. Tip of my tongue. Anyway, then they start talking, and Ed is like, oh, you need a job? You can work right here. It's cool beans. He talks to Mr. Bailey, the boss, and he gets him a job at Good Burger as the driver for deliveries and such. And it's funny because Dex, of course, cannot drive, and Ed takes him on a drive of the Good Burger car, and comparisons have been made of Good Burger to the SpongeBob SquarePants movie and like SpongeBob SquarePants in general, but the SpongeBob SquarePants had already been written, like the pilot and everything, and Plankton and all that stuff had already been thought of by the creator, so it's not really plagiarism. It's more like they both kind of had the same idea, but Good Burger obviously for a film that came out in 97, and SpongeBob for a TV show, an animated TV show at that. So, you can have both have the same idea, like Ants and Bug's Life. They're both bad movies. Bug's Life and Ants. I'm talking about how I like Good Burger, but whatever. Anyway, I'm sorry. Anywho, this is the next part of the movie is Ed and Dex. They go on not the joyride, but he basically shows them like just places, and this is when Ed does hit the mailbox of the teacher. I mean, he's gonna be in the movie he's gonna show up every now and then. You're gonna be like, why are they doing this? Why? But it kind of grows on you. But the next thing that happens is Mondo Burger comes in and tells them that they're going to be out of business because they're going to run them out of business. And Kurt orders the last Good Burger in his humble opinion because he was going to destroy Good Burger. He's going to put it in the grinder, his words. And then the next thing that happens is Ed is skating. He looks like he's about to leave to go home, and he runs into the old guy, Abe Vigoda, and that's when Dex puts two and two together, and holy shit, he was there. He caused his accident. He blames him for it, and he's super pissed. He takes the old guy to the hospital, and then Dex and Ed talk the next day, and he basically forgives him right away. There's no real conflict. It's beef squashed in like 2.5 seconds, but Ed has some special sauce, and this is when the actual thing of the movie happens. Ed's special sauce, Dex tries it and is like, damn, this is really good. This is when you're already introduced to the rest of the Good Burger people, but they're basically like one-off characters. They have one trait. There's one girl who's a vegetarian, and that's her whole thing. There's another girl, Monique, who's an independent woman, and she doesn't like Dex. There's a old guy, Abe Vigoda, He has a fucking oxygen tank. He's doing like that. So that's his whole thing. And then there's Spatch, who is Frankenstein's monster for some reason, just in the movie. I don't know why. And then there's a manager who's the manager. And he lives with his mother. Womp, womp, womp. Anyway, then they start making money. Because before, when Mondo Burger opened, it was like a huge, like, fucking event. And they played Presidents of the United States song Man, which, by the way, the soundtrack in this movie is incredible. I do love the soundtrack in this movie. It's great. I would give it a 10 out of 10. Now, next thing that happened is they do another song montage of burgers selling really well, and Ed is told by the manager that every good burger with his special sauce will get 10 cents for every good burger sold. So Dex overhears that. He makes a contract because Dex can make a contract like a son of a bitch, and he hasn't notarized. He hasn't like written up in calligraphy. I don't know if it's calligraphy, but it's like really like specific. And he has Ed sign it. Now Ed says he knows some of those words, so Ed's not the brightest bulb, but he signs it and he's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So Dex is using him to, make a buck. So that happens. Then back to the plot at hand with Kurt. Kurt runs over Ed, like literally runs him over with his car, and gets him in the car, and he's like, you know what, it's cool. You make $5 a good burger, which is minimum wage. How's $10 sound? And then he pulls out a $10 bill. And it's like, oh, that sounds pretty good. But Ed doesn't want to work for Mondo Burger. He doesn't want to sell out for money. And Ed just thinks he's being his friend. Dex tells him he's using him to get the sauce recipe and to not trust him. So after the restaurant closes up for the night, Ed and Dex head up to his special spot, which is like a gay joke they put in there because it's like the mid to late 90s, so not all the jokes land. But then you get into a sweet, serious moment where Dex talks about his dad and how he left him when he was a kid, and the last thing he remembers of him is a yo-yo that he bought him when he was a kid. The last thing he remembers of his dad that lit up and whistled like very specific type of yo-yo. That was really neat. And then Ed, being oblivious and being Ed, says, I can't even remember my dad's face either. At least I get to see him every day. And that's when Dex okay. And then he leaves. Then the next day, Ed gets the money. Oh, no. It's before they go up to the roof. Sorry. Blah, blah, blah. That's all, folks. Before the scene where they go up to the roof, Ed does get paid, and Dex takes most of it and leaves Ed with $13. The next day, Ed buys him a yo-yo, and it lights up and whistles and everything, and he's like, Dex is like, why'd you get this for me? He's like, oh, we're buddies, we're friends, because Ed hasn't really had a real true friend before, and he's just trying to be nice and sweet. And then Dex feels bad. So, back to the villain. He hires Roxanne, a spy, to go on a date with Ed. Ed makes a double date with Monique because Monique likes him now. Now, they go on the double date to a mini golf place, and Ed is about to spill the beans on his secret recipe until Dex kicks him, and he does not. He's like, okay, I won't do that. Then Roxanne's landing on thick. I mean, like going backseat of a car and to the pound town. But Ed's not getting the hint, and he's like, no, that doesn't sound fun. He does a literal double take to the camera. He breaks the fourth wall. And then he unintentionally hits Roxanne with a golf ball on the head. And then when he's driving home, when they're driving, she's unconscious, so she wakes up when she hits her head on the dash. And then Dex and Monique have a discussion on why Monique likes him, because Dex has liked him the whole movie, or liked her the whole movie. And Monique says that she really didn't like him at first, but seeing how he acts with Ed and how they're really good friends, and because Ed is like the sweetest person on the planet, essentially. And Dex feels bad again. You do get that a lot in this movie, Dex feeling bad scenes. Like, he'll just make a face like, I'm a dick. Yeah. But then Ed, Roxanne tries to seduce Ed again, and he pulls out a razor and wants to shave a Martian. It's like a one-off joke. It's not that funny, but then she tries to kiss him. She does not succeed. He flips her, and he's just like, whoops, I didn't see it coming. Then she comes in the next day. Roxanne comes in the villain's headquarters, just his office, and she quits. And that's the end of Roxanne, played by Carmen Electra, another celebrity in the movie. And then the next thing that happens is Monique, he does the hands over her eyes thing, and he's like, guess who? And she's like, fuck you. She doesn't say that because it's a PG movie, came out in 1997, but she noticed that he left his jacket, and then he accidentally left the contract that Ed signed, giving Dexter all the money, or most of the money, to Dexter. And she basically informs him that he's just using Ed and he's a scumbag, essentially. And you pan over to see Abe Vigoda, and Abe Vigoda has been listening the entire time, and he's like, you punk. Perfect Abe Vigoda impression, by the way. Anyway, Ed is sitting next to the dumpster with Mondo Burger and Good Burger, and he's listening like something's off, something's fishy. And Dex is about to tell him the truth, that he's been using him. But before he can do that, a dog comes up, a dog runs up, and Ed is like, oh, this dog, there's 4 clowns in trouble. Their car broke down? What's wrong? And Dex is like, what the fuck are you talking about? That dog's just hungry. Give him some food. So he gives him the Mondo Burger. Mondo Burger's not very good. The dog sniffs it and is like, nope, not today. He gives him a Good Burger. Dog eats the Good Burger. Something's fishy. So they go to Mondo Burger. Now, you'd be thinking, well, Dex did used to work there, so maybe he has to like put on a disguise of some sort. So both Dex and Ed dress as old women to put on a bit and get into the back to see what's going on. And they find something. They find canisters on the wall. They're adding it to the burgers. They're adding it to the grinder. And they're like, what's going on? This can't be legal. And then Kurt walks in and says, it's not legal, boys. it's illegal growth hormones. And he explains basically how this thing is making their burgers ginormous and it's illegal. And they're like, well, we're gonna tell the cops, buddy. And he's like, no, you're not. Because for some reason, in this movie and some like 90s movies, early 2000s movies, probably 80s movies too, they did this thing where the villain has way too much power for no reason. Like, no reason at all. But they do make a joke of, because they're supposed to be old women, Keenan, and as Dex is wearing just normal clothes underneath, but Kel's Ed is wearing full lingerie for some reason, and he tries to run away because Dex tells him to, and he runs to a wall, and then he's pushed up against the wall by Kurt, and it's like, well, I know who I have to call. The mental ills, a mental institution, because I can lock people up in mental institutions because I have worked for Mondo Burger. He has wild connections, and his goons go along with everything. Like, there's two goons. He's like, okay, sure, why not? So Ed won't give them a secret recipe, so they puts them in a mental institution. And his bright idea is to sneak in a Good Burger. At night, they dress in all black with little burglar outfits and put shark poison in the sauce, the secret sauce, and stir it up. Unlucky for them, Abe Vigoda, the old man, is sleeping there for some reason. Maybe he fell asleep and nobody woke him up when they locked up. I don't know why he's still there, honestly. It's literally just for this scene so he can get to the mental institution, so he can tell them what's going on so they can escape. So that's what happens, and Abe Vigoda literally gets dragged in to the same place, the same room as them, and they make a plan to escape. They don't actually make a plan though. It's basically the next day, it's the morning, and they have to make a plan. Ed says to George Clinton, not George Clinton, it is actually George Clinton, but his character in the movie, that the music's terrible and then he needs to change it. So he does, and it's Funkadelic. This music is great. I do love this. I looked up Funkadelic, the 15-minute version, and it's fucking fantastic. If I give a recommendation for that, I will wholeheartedly. So there's a little dance number that happens. Dex knocks the two guys out. He does poof, poof, gets their keys, runs up, unlocks one of the doors. Then there is a tall giant man who is a psychopath who probably killed somebody because Ed lets him out of his straitjacket, and you can literally hear somebody saying, "Oh no, he's gonna fucking kill somebody. Oh no, she's dying. She's dead out loud. The humanity." They don't go that far, but someone does say that she's dead, so someone's probably dead because of it. But let's slide past that. And then on to the rest. Belinda Cardellini is Ed's love interest for the mental institution. She helps him escape, and they kiss before they leave. So Velma before the live action Scooby-Doo is in this movie, and I think that's pretty cool too. So next, the thing that happens, after Ed kisses Linda Cardellini, he jumps out another window, even though the giant psychopath already broke a window, and then he lands on Dex. Now, the first thing they obviously have to do is steal an ice cream truck. It's the first thing they see, so they have to. And then the Demented people chase them. Ed asks if anybody wants ice cream, and Dex has a bright idea of throwing ice cream at the windshield of the car, and then Ed starts throwing ice cream. I'm just a dude throwing ice cream. It's literally one of the lines. And the mailbox scene from earlier happens again, but Dex does not hit the mailbox. The Demented Hills van does hit the mailbox. Then two old ladies order 2 good burgers, extra sauce, because it has to be old ladies, because of course they have to get to the restaurant, and Ed has to tackle one of the old ladies so that they won't eat it, and they make sure that nobody else orders a good burger and to call the cops. So Ed does parkour to get inside Mondo Burger, and then Dex also gets his way up to the straw, down the straw to the chute that is full of clothes, because of course it is, because it's a movie. But Ed is supposed to get the canister and go to the cops. So what he does, he accidentally knocks down a canister and then has a bright idea to dump all the canisters of the illegal growth hormone into the machine, and then all the burgers start exploding. He comes up to the roof before that happens, and he's like, it's not empty when I found it. And because they're cornered on the roof with Kurt and his goons, and then everything starts blowing up. So literally, like, things blow up in the fucking microwave, and they blow up on the conveyor belt, and the big soda, the big ass soda falls down. Everything starts going insane. There's chaos. They all exit the building. The doors break. The glass breaks. It shatters. And they get out of the building. And Kurt goes to prison because he's in charge. And then Dex and Ed tell them about the illegal growth hormone. And he's like, you're lying. That's bullshit. And then the cop holds up a bag. Cause like, this fucking evidence right here, you're going to prison for life, bitch. He doesn't say that, but assume that's what happens. And then Dex is like, why didn't you just take the canister and the cops? And Ed was like, well, seeing how Kurt would hire a lawyer, and then they would be tied up in the legal system for months before any real justice could be made, because the justice system is so screwed up and flawed that I chose to take it into my own hands and have them be have them essentially bite the head off the snake. I can't exactly remember the monologue, but he's like, what do you think, I'm stupid? And I thought this through. And then Ed is like, I'm gonna miss you, does the heartfelt goodbye, and to Ed, and bleh. And Dex is like, I'm not going anywhere, what are you talking about? And then they're like, oh, we're gonna continue to be good friends for the rest of our days. They don't say that, but it's gonna happen because it's a movie and it's a happy ending. So they're like, okay, good friends, good buddies, good pals. Then they do the he's a jolly good fellow. They lift up Ed and they get him to the counter, and then he says his famous line, welcome to Good Burger, home of the good burger. May I take your order? And that is the movie. Now, for me, I think it's nostalgia driven, and yes, I have watched this since I was a child. I watched it when I was like 18, and then now when I'm 25, I think it still holds up. I think it's pretty funny. My fiance does not think it holds up because she didn't see it as a kid, and she did not like it. She didn't make an hour pass into the movie. I did finish the movie, and she said I felt like 4 hours. She did not like it at all. It's an anti-recommendation for her. It's a good recommendation for me. I give it a 10 out of 11 Good Burgers. If you grew up with this movie, I think you like it pretty much still as an adult. And if you haven't watched it when you were a kid or when, through all that or Good Burger, the movie or the sketch, if you don't know Keenan or Kel, and you just see it on Netflix, maybe you'd like it. I'm not sure. My fiance did not like it in the slightest, but everybody has their own opinions, so I will leave you with this. Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can it take you hard?